video, we're going to go over the second part of the evolution notes for honors zoology. All right. So this will be pretty short overall, but we're going to talk about first the evidence for evolution. All right. So homology is a characteristic shared by two species or other taxa. So it could be a broader group that is similar because of common ancestry. All right. So structures derived from a common ancestor are called homologous structures. They are similar in structure but different in their function. All right, and make sure you know this definition and for your test because it will be on there for sure, 100%. All right, so homologous structures are evidence of a common ancestor. So in this picture here, we have a lot of different vertebrates. So we have a human arm, a horse leg, a cat leg, a bat wing, a bird wing, and then a whale's fin. So all of these are chordates or vertebrates. All right. And you'll notice this kind of color coded. I know this picture isn't of the best quality, but you'll notice similarities among the bone structures. So these are homologous structures. So this dark colored bone at the top it varies in thickness or length throughout, but they all have that. And then you'll notice the similarities such as like the finger bones all the way from like a human hand to the bat wing of their just like very long fingers underneath their skin. But that just shows that there was a common ancestor back in the day. Versus an analogous structure, which does not serve the same function it serves the same function in the two taxa. Apologies. It does serve the same function, but it's not from a common ancestor. So it's not showing a common ancestor, so it doesn't really have anything to do with evolution. It's just that they both can do the same thing. So analogous structures have a similar function, but are not similar in origin, such as a bat wing, a bird wing, a bat wing or bird wing versus like an insect wing. So the bat wings and the bird wings are homologous. We just talked about that on the last slide. They do show that similar structures. Like here they're pointing out the bone similarities, just like the last image did. Versus an insect wing, it doesn't have the bones of support. They were, evolved very differently. They, don't have any structure internally that shows that these are the similar, despite them both being used to fly. Okay. So here's just another picture of that to really drive it home. So homology, bat wings, a mouse arm, or forelimb rather, and a human arm all have that similar structure. They're all homologous, versus analogous structures would be like bat wings and like insect wings. All right. So similar mammals have adapted to similar environments, and they've evolved independently from their ancestors. Sugar gliders versus flying squirrels are examples of that. All right. Molecular homology, the molecular and genetic evidence support fossil and the anatomical evidence, and two closely related organisms will have similar DNA sequences. So the more closely related they are genetically, obviously reveals a connection. So this one lists just not all of their DNA, but just one cytochrome C on it. So it's not just saying every single bit of DNA, but for instance, the number of amino acids different from humans just within this one chunk. Chimpanzees had 0, a rhesus monkey had just 1 difference, rabbits had 9, cows had 10, and so on down the list. Again, that's not all DNA, that's just this one chunk, right? Then we have what are called vestigial structures. They have a marginal, if any, use in the organisms in which they occur. For instance, femurs in python snakes and the pelvis in whales. They're completely useless. Femur bones. What does a snake need with a femur? It's got, no legs. Versus a pelvis in a whale. What does it need? A pelvic bone, hip bones. It's got no back limbs. All right. And then for humans, the appendix. All right. So what vestigial structures can show you is that it's evolved where it once had needed those things, and it's evolved where it doesn't need them anymore. All right. And then the next thing for evidence of evolution are, of course, fossils, a very obvious thing. And fossils are traces of organisms that existed in the past. Fossils are found in the older layers are more primitive than those found in the upper layers of the earth or the soil. And then paleontology is the study of fossils or extinct organisms. So these scientists will study fossils, of course, and you probably already knew that because you're smart people. And paleontology will provide evidence to support evolution. So here's just three things that they discovered over time, and you can notice some very similarities among the skulls, despite these being marked as 40 million years ago, 50 million years ago, and 52. You'll notice the changes in the skull shape. You'll notice changes in the back legs versus this guy. Then they kind of went out more, and then they're almost completely gone in this most recent one. So, anyway, that is all for the evolution notes. It was just a brief overview. Since you learned a lot of this before, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.